Hey everybody, Eric Tamara here from the Mediocre Show. We're going to continue on our barbecue series with beef brisket. It's actually one of our favorite foods, definitely one of my favorite foods, and it's probably one of the most time-consuming things you can do in barbecue. But we're going to have one tomorrow. My dad's in town, so we thought we'd just make a little video of doing the brisket. And just before anybody gets all criticizey about things, keep in mind that there's not one specific way to do barbecue. If you find something that works for you, great. If you do what I do and it works out well for you, even better. But truly, there's no wrong way to do it as long as it tastes good. So here we go. And the first thing is when you're preparing the brisket the night before, you want to get your rub on there. And before you put the rub on, you have to trim the brisket. So what I do is I get a giant cutting board. You don't have to have one that's quite this large, but it does help because you have a nice big workspace and everything's out of the way. So here's that, and we picked up this brisket here. It's about a 13-pounder. It's larger than my head. And one thing you want to do when you're picking out a brisket at the store is this is what's called a whole brisket, or it's also called a packer. I think this is a packer. If not, someone correct me. But you want to get one that has a nice, you can see it here, a nice big chunk of fat across the top. This one has quite a bit, and it's there's two parts of a brisket, and you've got the flat, which is about from here over, the flat part, and then there's the nose, which is right here, which is a lot of fat, and it's a lot thicker, and it'll take a lot longer to cook. So what I usually do is I'll separate the two before I even start trimming, separate the flat from the nose, and then I cook the nose separately and use it in chili later. But the flat is what we're really primarily looking at here. So there it is, and let's get to cutting. So like I said, the first cut you're going to make is to separate the nose and the flat. So it's a lot easier if you actually look at the bottom side of it. So you can see where it kind of starts getting thicker right in here. So I'm going to cut it right along there. And for now, we're going to set this the nose aside. But if you notice, this has quite a bit of fat on the top. We don't want quite that much. We do want to leave some, but not quite that much. So we are going to trim it down. And if you hear any weasel noises, it's my son. Right? All right. So we're going to cut this down a little bit, and I use a really sharp boning knife. It's probably the easiest way to do it. Just be careful not to cut off your hands. So I went a little deep there. So you see I hit the meat. So I went a little far. So I want to back that off a bit and just trim it off. This takes a long time. All right, so we're gonna set the flat aside for now, and we're gonna get to work on the nose real quick. The nose, trimming up the nose isn't quite as important because, like I said, you're gonna chop it up later and use it in chili. Like I said, be really careful because you might cut your hand, and I sure enough did do that. I'll see if I can get a Band-Aid to put on there. Do we have Band-Aids? Shit. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Just be careful not to cut off your hands. Cut off your hands. Cut off your hands. Wow. Got it pretty good. Alright, so after you've cut your hand open, you're going to want to go ahead and put a latex glove on. Some people might do that before they cut their hand open. I am not those people. But now that I've got it latexed up, it's going to fill with blood in there, so I need to work quickly. And I'm also going to rinse off the piece of meat that I cut my hand on. Because no one wants to eat human blood. They just want to eat the beef blood in this case. So back to it, cutting it down, just being very careful to keep my hands out of the way of the super sharp boning knife. I know I said that earlier, but this time I'm really going to do it. All right, and now we're going to get on to the rubbing portion of the program. We'll start with the nose because it's over here right in front of us. Today I'm going to use a rub. It's Three Little Pigs barbecue rub. They're Kansas City Championship rub. Now normally we make our own rub, but I thought I'd use stuff that's readily available. You can get this at firecraft.com, and it's a really nice rub. It's very, very similar to the one we make anyway, so it goes really nice with brisket. So you just want to apply it to the outside very liberally. Get a lot on there. The more you can get in there, the better. And this is the important part of the brisket, is getting the rub on there on the flat. You want to make sure you get it pretty evenly distributed there. All right, and now our brisket is completely rubbed. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it in plastic wrap. Get it in the fridge and let it sit there overnight. There's really nothing more for you to watch tonight. Wrapping it in plastic wrap is pretty self-explanatory. I think you can figure out that on your own. But we'll see you in the morning. We're gonna get up bright and early and get the smoker going. But for now, this thing's just gonna be sitting in the fridge rubbed. So we'll see you in the morning. So what we're going to do first is we're going to load the smoker with charcoal. And I use, for my smoker, I found it works best. I tried a bunch of different ones, is Ozark Oak, and it's a natural lump hardwood charcoal. And again, it's another thing you can get online, or if you have a good barbecue supply place in your town, you might be able to get it. But so far, this is my favorite one. It doesn't spark a whole bunch when it burns, and it burns very cleanly, which is very important. It doesn't add much flavor to the food. I want that to all come from my apple wood. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to load a flat, as flat as you can get it, a flat base of the hardwood charcoal, and then we're going to use a torch to light it up. So here we go. Now once we've got the charcoal and a little bit of the wood loaded into the smoker here, we're going to want to install our barbecue guru system. Now this honestly, and I'm not paid to say this, is one of the best purchases I've made for barbecue, aside the smoker itself. And I'll go into greater detail with that in another video. We're going to do a barbecue tools video and then stuff that I use. But this is the fan that goes with the Barbecue Guru system, and I have the port mounted on the bottom side of the smoker, right under the firebox, blowing under the fire. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in now, because I've learned many times if I don't put it in before I start the fire, I end up burning myself. You saw me cut myself last night because of Futzer's knife. I really don't want to burn myself as well. So we're going to do that first. And now that I've said that, very clearly that's going to happen. And here is the other main important part of the Barbecue Guru system. and that is the controller. Mine is quite dirty right now, but it lets you control the temperature inside the smoker, and then there's a food probe, and then there's a probe inside the smoker to keep the temperature. It blows air onto the fire and keeps it stoked. So we go ahead and plug that in. So I found the best way to light my charcoal in this smoker. You know, a lot of times it's easier if you use a chimney on smokers, that you have a little more access to dump the chimney in. This smoker is not really easy to dump hot coals into the smoker from the chimney. So I figured out that using a propane torch and lighting several on the top is the way to go. And you want to make sure your smoker gets all the way up to temperature. Today we're going to be shooting for around 225. Anywhere between 225 and 250 is really good for brisket. But you want to make sure you get your smoker up to temperature before you put the food on. Takes a while, it's really frustrating, and you get really bored. But the biggest thing about cooking any barbecue really, but especially brisket, is patience. You gotta be patient. A lot of people rush it and then they end up with a really tough brisket. They don't understand why brisket isn't so good. Like I said, my favorite barbecue food. You gotta take your time. You gotta be patient. You gotta wait for it to hit the internal temperature. The internal temperature we're gonna hit is 195. If it doesn't get there, it's gonna be tough. If you're within a couple degrees, not a big deal. But a lot of people get frustrated right around the 165 region and pull it off. That's not what you want to do. That's going to ruin your brisket. It's going to taste tough and people aren't going to enjoy it. So like I said, we're going to wait until this thing is completely lit, and then we're going to get the food on. All right, now that we've got the smoker up to temperature, we're gonna go ahead and get the meat on there. So I'm gonna run in and grab that, and I'm gonna be right back with it. So here's our meat. Like you remember last night, we did the flat, which is what we're gonna be eating tonight, the nose, which is gonna go into chili later, and then there's that extra piece that I cut off. That'll probably be chili too. We'll see how it turns out. We might just snack on it right when it's done. And of course, when you open the smoker to load your food, it's going to drop the temperature quite a bit. So what I like to do is, once I get the food on, I throw another log onto the fire so it'll get back up to temperature. But here we go. We're going to get it in there, and we're going to get the food probe from the barbecue guru into the brisket too, into the flat, because that's what we're most concerned with today. So here we go. And one thing you want to do is put all the meat, whenever you're smoking something, a big cut like this, so it's a pork shoulder or a brisket, you want to put it fat side up, because the fat is actually going to render down as it cooks, and it'll keep it nice and moist. So there's that piece. Is not really going to work that way, but we'll just pretend. So here is the brisket flat, and you can see there's the fat side. We're going to put that up. We're going to try to shoot for about the middle of the smoker on that one. We're going to get the probe into probably the thickest part of the brisket, and try not to hit any fat when you put it in there. And you don't want any of your meat touching when it's in the smoker, because then it'll have a spot where where the meat isn't getting cooked, and it'll be weird. So just make sure you get it into a nice area all of its own. We're going to get the probe right into the muscle meat, as deep as you can get it in there. Ugh. So we've got everything in there. We're just going to go ahead and close the smoker and get it going. And now is a good time to talk about the plateau that happens with pork shoulder if you're making pulled pork, and it definitely happens with brisket. It's around between 160 and 170. The internal temperature of the meat is going to stall, and it could be anywhere from 20 minutes or it could be a couple hours. It's important to just let it cook through that stall, because what's happening is the fat is rendering down and it's cooling the meat and doing that, but you want the fat to render slowly, because that's how you keep the meat juicy. So just wait it out. You got to wait it out. A lot of people get impatient during this time, and that's when you end up overdoing it or taking it off too early. So some people at this point will foil wrap the brisket, and then that brings it up a little bit faster. I don't like foiling. It for me, I'd rather just wait it out, because it'll make the bark on your food a little bit mushy. And you can always put it back on and get the bark back toward the end, but I just prefer to leave it and let it ride. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to check our wood and our charcoal, which I just added some more, so we're looking good there. While it's plateaued, it's a good time to you get some stuff done. You can just hang out. You can go inside. The good thing about the Guru is it maintains the temperature, so you don't have to babysit the thing the whole day. So I'm gonna just kick back and find some stuff to do and keep myself busy. So one thing that I like to do in that time is to celebrate my American heritage with my America chair. I'll show you my America chair. You can see it's a lovely chair with the American flag. So I'm just going to go ahead and sit down for a little bit and kick back and enjoy the day. And sitting for, what is that, 10 seconds? I'm already bored of sitting. So I'm going to find some other stuff to do. Maybe it's a good time for yard work. You can do that if you want. Yard work's not a bad idea. I'm going to go ahead and find some other stuff to do. Despite the luxurious beard, turns out I'm not much of a lumberjack. All right, one thing I forgot to mention earlier is you want to keep the meat moist, and this goes for brisket or ribs or even pork butts. Anything you're barbecuing, you want to keep it moist, and one good way to do that is to spray it. I have a sprayer here, and I got this sprayer at Home Depot. It's like an industrial sprayer for cleaners or whatever you want. But I spray the brisket, and I put in here, I have apple juice. So I just spray that, and just to keep it moist. And the apple juice adds a little bit of sweetness to it too, which is nice. All right, it's 5 o'clock, and now's a good time to talk about another tool in the arsenal. Where our temperature internally of the brisket is 182 degrees, so we're still about 13 degrees off. I bumped the temperature in the smoker up a little bit because at this point we can just finish it off. It's past the plateau, which is good. I don't have to play hockey anymore or anything like that. But we're gonna get but now's a good time to talk about another tool in the barbecue arsenal. It's going to start getting dark soon here in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, so it would be pointless for me to come back out and shoot because it'll be dark, and I don't have a good lighting rig. But here is another tool that is really nice for barbecuing. Again, I'll go over these when we do our barbecue tools video. But these are food gloves, high temperature food gloves, and they're made by Stephen Reichlin. I think it's how you say his name. But they're just thick rubber gloves that enable you to pick up hot food off the smoker. It's great when you're doing something like a pork butt or a brisket or even ribs when you go to flip them. It's just, you know, you don't have to use tongs like a chump. You can use these gloves and just pick them up and do whatever you need to. That's something you might want to get yourself from Firecraft. So check these out. They're a really good tool. Like I said before, we're not rushing the food, so you're going to wait until it gets to your internal temperature of 195 degrees, and you know we're 13 degrees off of that, but we're gonna wait it out, and we're gonna make sure it gets there because we're not going to cook it before it's done. 195 degrees, and that's important. So be patient.